1 year passed after Amaka disappeared, no strange voices anymore, no shadows, no waking up at 2:13 in fear. For the first time in a very long time, Conley finally looked like a man who could breathe again. He moved into a new apartment, bought new furniture, changed his phone and slowly returned to normal life, but there was one thing he never threw away. The photograph. That impossible photograph of him and Amaka together, the same photograph that should never have existed. He kept it inside a small drawer beside his bed, and sometimes, late at night, he would open it and smile quietly, not because he wanted her back, but because he wanted to remember. Then one evening, something happened. Conley opened the drawer and froze. The photograph looked different. It was a very small difference, but enough to make him fear. Amaka was standing a little farther away. He stared at it for a long time and laughed nervously. Maybe he was imagining things. The next day, he checked again, and this time, she was not smiling. 3 days later, Amaka was gone, only Conley remained in the photograph. That night, exactly 2:13 a.m., his phone rang, unknown number. Connor sat up slowly and answered, but there was silence, then a very soft voice followed, like someone speaking from inside rain. Connor. His chest tightened, then the voice whispered, "Don't forget me." Conley sat there until morning. He told himself grief was playing tricks, but strange things started happening. One afternoon in traffic, a woman selling groundnuts looked at him and stopped walking. She said, "I know you." Connor smiled politely, but she shook her head. "No. I saw your picture." His heart skipped. Another person said the same thing 2 days later, then another. Soon, strangers started recognizing him everywhere. Bus parks, restaurants, fuel stations. People kept saying one thing, "We saw your picture." He became afraid. That night, he checked the photograph again. He nearly dropped it, but here was a handwriting at the bottom, "Find Emmy." Conley could not sleep. He started searching old places, old roads, places Amaka once mentioned casually. The clues led him farther and farther, until one evening, he arrived at an abandoned photography studio hidden at the edge of town. The building looked dead with dust everywhere and broken windows. Inside were photographs covering every wall, families, couples, children, old people, wedding photos, birthday photos, normal pictures, but something felt wrong. Conley noticed something. In every single photo, one person was no longer alive. Then he heard an old man's voice behind him, an old man with an old camera hanging on his neck. He looked at Conley and said, "Love is powerful," but Conley said nothing. The old man smiled sadly and said, "Sometimes memories become too powerful." Conley looked confused. The old man pointed at Conley's photograph, then said, "Your wife never stayed because she wanted to." Conley's body went cold. The man continued, "You kept opening the door." Conley stared. He continued, "Every time you looked at the picture, every time you held onto the memory, every time you refused to let go." Amaka returned a little. Not enough to live, not enough to live, just enough to remain trapped. That was why people started seeing her. That was why the world slowly remembered someone who had already gone. Conley broke down, his eyes filled with tears. All this time, he thought he was keeping love alive, but he was keeping her from resting. The old man gave him one choice: keep the picture, and she stays forever between worlds, or destroy it and she finally becomes free. Conley went home. He sat with the photograph all night, until morning came. Night came again. Then at 2:13 a.m., he opened the picture, looked at Amaka, smiled through tears and whispered, "You stayed long enough." Then he burnt it. Then warm wind suddenly entered the room, golden light filled the apartment, and there she was. Amaka. Not sad, not crying, just peaceful. She looked exactly the way she looked the day he met her. She smiled and said, "Thank you," then she disappeared. Not into darkness, but into light. Months later, Conley smiled again, he laughed again, he lived again, and eventually, he met someone new and got married. When they took the wedding photo, Conley looked at it quietly. It was a perfect, beautiful and normal picture. Then he turned it around and found a small handwriting, only one line, "Now, live." And for the first time, Conley lived, happier than ever.